Chris, let's begin with the newest news this afternoon, and that is Vice President-elect Mike Pence taking over the transition from Governor Christie. What do you make of that?
Well, I think that Christie was not going to stay in that job after Bridgegate. It was just too controversial. The head of the transition team is going to have to be a public figure, and you knew the first time he went out, he was going to be asked about Bridgegate and the allegations of some of his top aides who were convicted of fraud and conspiracy, that he knew all about it. That didn't make any sense. I also think it's a statement about Mike Pence and the very close relationship that he and President-elect Trump have formed. The trust he puts in him as somebody who knows Washington and knows these issues in greater depth than Trump does, and I think it's a pretty good choice.
It would seem to matter who President-elect Trump surrounds himself with in the White House. Yesterday there was some talk that it might be Steve Bannon of Breitbart as his chief of staff. I mean, it makes a difference, doesn't it, whether it's him or someone like Reince Priebus of the RNC?
Makes all the difference in the world. And I have strong feelings about this. I've been around this town a long time, and I've seen good chiefs of staff and bad chiefs of staff. And you got to understand, this is the person who really, it's not just that they run the staff in the White House. They're the person who, to a large degree, the president may set the direction, really deals with Congress, deals with the media, in trying to figure out what the president's priorities and to enact it. And oftentimes you'll see people, Jimmy Carter with Hamilton Jordan, or Bill Clinton with a fellow named Mac McLarty from Arkansas. They bring in some guy that they like a lot, they have great respect for, local. It never works because they don't understand Washington, they don't understand the way things work here. And even if you want to dramatically change how they work, you got to understand how it operates so you can change it. I think Reince Priebus would be a very good choice. I think Bannon might be very good as an advisor. You talk about a consigliere or something, but chief of staff, I don't think he knows his town well enough.
It was fascinating to see Mr. Trump and Mr. Obama in the Oval Office yesterday and hear the president talk about working together. One might argue that since Donald Trump has not only the presidency, but both houses of Congress for the first time since 1928, that maybe the Republicans don't have to work with the Democrats.
Well, they do to some degree, because in the Senate, particularly where they have the filibuster, and Democrats have plenty of people, 9 over the filibuster minority, you're going to have to, they can block things. They can especially block legislation. And there are a variety of reasons why you have to work with the opposing party. I don't think he'll be working a lot with Barack Obama. He talked about seeking his counsel in the future. Look, Trump ran against Obama, against Obama's agenda, and while they both behaved themselves pretty well in the Oval Office, they both know that as soon as Trump gets in, he's going to take a wrecking ball to the Obama legacy, which is what made yesterday so interesting to watch.
That would mean repealing and replacing Obamacare and getting rid of the Iran deal and all those executive orders?
Well, yeah, especially the executive orders, because that you can do by yourself. I mean, you know, the flip side of Obama going around Congress, around passing laws and doing all these things with the stroke of a pen is that they can all be undone with a stroke of a pen. And I promise you, within the first 24 hours after Donald Trump is sworn in, he is going to undo some of those executive orders on climate change, on the environment, on deferring the deportation of millions of people in this country illegally. He can't do that executive orders when it comes to Obamacare or building a wall, but he can do an awful lot and chalk up some victories with, as I say, the stroke of a pen.
And in his middle of the night acceptance speech, he talked about infrastructure, building roads and airports and that sort of thing, much as Hillary Clinton had. Might he have better luck getting the money out of Congress to do that than she would have?
Yeah, I think so, although I will tell you there are a lot of Republicans who don't like that, didn't like it from Hillary Clinton, didn't like it, and it was a campaign promise that Trump made during the last year, so it's not like something he just announced on election night. I think what you might see is a deal made with infrastructure and tax reform. Republicans want to see lower corporate taxes. They want to see a device that allows those trillions of dollars that are sitting overseas to be brought into the country. And if you use that and you took maybe some of the proceeds in a one-time tax to finance infrastructure, you might be able to make something of a grand bargain there, which Republicans would love from the tax reform aspect, And an awful lot of people, including Democrats, would like, from the infrastructure standpoint, the creation of jobs. And who knows, maybe one of those infrastructure projects would be building a wall.
Well, I was just going to ask you about the wall. It seems like some of his surrogates and even supporters are now saying, well, the wall is sort of metaphorical. It doesn't necessarily have to be brick and mortar. We're not talking about necessarily building a wall all the way across the southern border. So how is that going to play out, do you think?
Well, it's interesting. We had Speaker of the House Paul Ryan on special report last night, and Brett Baer asked him about that a couple of times. So are you going to build the wall? And Ryan kept saying, well, we're going to secure the border. So I think you're exactly right. I think there will have to be some construction because it just is important as a symbol, but I think some of it might be beefing up the number of Border Patrol who are there, increasing the technology, the drones, the various ways, lasers of controlling the border. But as you say, it may not be a real brick and mortar wall for 1,000 miles.
Well, just fascinating times. I think most of the world was surprised. Donald Trump even seemed a little surprised himself. How are you going to handle this on Fox News Sunday this weekend?
Well, you know, the election, the campaign's over, the transition and the Trump administration begins. We're going to be talking to Kellyanne Conway. She is no longer Trump's campaign manager. She is a senior advisor to the transition. And we're also going to be talking to Kevin McCarthy. He is the House Majority Leader. So we'll be talking to him about how Republicans feel on the other end of Pennsylvania Avenue. And I will tell you, having talked briefly to Paul Ryan off camera yesterday, they are thrilled. Yes, they had some problems with Trump, but now that he's actually the president, the idea, I mean, they have been developing an agenda and writing various plans for years, and they could never get it through the president's desk. Now they can put it on his desk, and Trump will sign it, and it'll become law, and they're like kids in a candy store.
Well, we'll be watching on Sunday to hear all about it. Chris, thanks very much.
Russ, thank you.